Hello! My name is Lincoln and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we are doing the... Wait, you need to introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Walter.
Yeah.
I was wondering.
Sorry. But in today's video, we are doing our 2 Peas in a Book Club discussion, and it is about A Darker Shade of Magic by v.e.schwab. Schwab. So, we're here to talk about A Darker Shade of Magic. And this was the book you picked for your birthday, since I had picked one for my birthday in July, and then we had picked one for our anniversary this month. And then this one was the one for your birthday.
Yeah.
That you picked. So, yeah.
My birthday was on the 23rd of September, and I don't actually know my venue off the top of my head, but we can put it in the notes below.
Description.
Yeah, in the description, if you would like to send me a birthday gift. Just an idea. You know, hint, hint. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, so this discussion is going to have a lot of spoilers in it.
Yeah.
But one thing I do want to say before we get into it is some trigger warnings. So, trigger warning for sexual assault.
Yeah. Self-mutilation? I'm sorry.
I didn't actually read the sexual assault scene, but is like...
Attempted.
Okay.
Attempted sexual assault.
Yes. And then the next one is self-harm, but it's not really like self-harm. Like it's not...
Yeah, it's
they cut themselves because they need like the blood for the magic.
Yeah.
And then they heal really fast, but still it does describe and talk about self-harm and stuff like that. Anything else?
Murder, death.
Yeah, lots of death.
Not really gory or anything.
No, it's not gory.
It's just death.
Yeah.
I think that's all. Possession? If you have an issue with that.
Yeah.
So. Okay.
Yeah. So just forewarned. But yeah. Anything else before we get into this?
I don't think so. I think that's all. Yeah.
Okay. Well, first off.
Yeah.
What are you currently reading?
You're not gonna like this. You already know the answer.
Do it?
Yeah, you saw it. I am rereading the Lightbringer series by Britt Weeks for the 3rd or 4th time now.
It's the 5th.
3rd or 4th. Actually, it might be the 5th time.
Yeah.
4th or 5th time now. Britt Weeks is a god among men. He is legitimately the greatest author that mankind has ever known. He's written... Oh, man. He wrote 5, and then there's a 3 right there. So he's written 8 books so far. There's a trilogy. Maybe a quadology? There might be 4 books in the first series, the Night Angel series. That was the very first series he ever wrote. Top tier. Mm-hmm. Then he wrote the Lightbringer series, which is top tierer. So I just finished the first one, waiting for the second one, which has been nearly ready on Libby for like 4 days now, and it's really bothering me. Some schlub out there is sitting there not having finished it or having finished it and not having returned it so that I can get it. It's really bothering me. But it's just so good.
It's all he talks about.
So
even when he's not reading it.
Yeah.
Like, whenever we first met, he was rereading this series for, like, the 3rd time.
2nd time. This might actually be my 5th time rereading it if that was the 2nd time.
You've reread it, like, 3 times since we've been together. It's like once a year you reread. It's
worthy of being reread once a year.
Which, like, I get that. But, like, when we first met, he wouldn't read new books. He would only reread books. So, like...
Yeah.
This is part of the reason I started this book club, was so he would read books that are different than what he normally reads.
Let me defend myself. Let me rebuttal. This is how you have a debate. This is how you have an actual debate. Instead of shouting over each other, you wait for the other person to finish their statement, then you rebuttal, which might be my favorite word. I read books differently than other people in that I am constantly on the lookout for 5-star reads. And when I find a 5-star read, I add it to my 5-star read list. Mm-hmm. And that list is what I read all the time. I've read every 5-star read I've ever read at least twice, if not more, because I'm so spoiled by Brent Weeks and Orson Scott Card and Brian Jacques Redwall. Ooh, yeah, great. And Gary Paulson.
Sanderson, right?
Oh, yeah, Brandon Sanderson. Yeah! These are all on my lots of their books are all on my 5-star read list, and they have spoiled me with good writing. So when I read books that I don't enjoy the writing on, or the premise, or how they handle things, they are not 5-star books, and I don't reread them. And I get bored very quickly. If I read enough low-star books in a row, I instantly just, stop reading those and go to my 5-star list and just start, I'll reread a series from that because they're just so good. And that's how I read. So whenever I'm rereading a series, it's because I have read a couple bad books in a row. That's me.
I mean, if you say it that way, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But when you first described it to me, you were just like, I'm picky. Yeah. I'd only want to read 5-star books, so I'm just going to read the books that I've read that I already know are 5 stars.
I had been hurt deeply.
Which, how are you going to get to know there are more 5-star books? You would never have known Brandon Sanderson if I hadn't have pushed you to read it.
I know. And the first book I read from Brandon Sanderson was not good. Ironheart? Steel?
I don't know.
Steelheart? I think it was Steelheart. Superheroes. Cool premise. Because you don't read very many superhero books. Mm-hmm. Bad book. It was 2 stars.
Okay, this isn't a discussion about that book.
I'm sorry. But then you pushed me to read more Brandon Sanderson's, and I love him so much, and I appreciate you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah.
Good debate. You won this debate. You.
Obviously. But no, the book I'm currently reading is... I feel like every time we're doing this, I'm reading a Gail Carriger book. Every time. But I'm reading a Gail Carriger book. It's the first book in the Custard Protocol series. So it's... The title is Prudence. Uh-huh. Which, it's not a continuation, but I had read the
Parasol
Protectorate series.
Yeah.
I just finished that, and this series comes after that and involves characters that were in that series. So it's a continuation, but it's not focusing on the same people.
Cool.
It's a completely different series, so you could read it by itself, but it's so much more fun to read them all in order. But yeah, so I'm reading this one, and I'm 3 hours into it, so I can't say too much about it, but I'm already really enjoying it because the main character is she's I don't want to give spoilers for the Parasol Protectorate series, but the main characters in this are deeply connected to those characters, but in an exciting way, in a different twist. So it's just fun to see them. And also, they're floating on a dirigible.
Yeah.
That is painted like a ladybug and farts. When it takes off.
It's so great, man.
When it takes off,
so
it
good.
Farts.
Oh my gosh. I love Gail Carriger so much.
So, yeah.
How many years in the future? How many years have passed since the end of the Parasol Protectorate?
I don't know exactly. So, I think maybe at least 15 to 20.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a chunk of the future.
Yeah.
Got it.
Because, again, I don't want to
You don't give any spoilers. Okay, I just want to know.
But,
cool.
yeah, it's like... It's not like... Because some of her other series, like her Finishing School series... Well, never mind. I'm not going to get into all this because I could... It's a whole complicated mess. If you want to get into Gail Carriger, you should.
You should.
But, yeah. So that's what I'm reading.
Cool. All right.
We both got on to like little tangents, which is not why we're here. We're not here to talk about why you keep rereading books, and we're not here to talk about Gail Carriger.
One of these days I'm going to do a solo video on your channel just talking about Brit Weeks. Or can I just like...
You can do that.
Can I just tear apart books that I don't like?
I mean, yeah. You can do
an honest
reviews.
review of Steelhearts. Trash!
You can do more videos on my channel if you want.
Like,
yeah.
So can I do... not that I don't want you there, but like...
No, yeah.
Or maybe you can be there, but I'll just like shout at you about the books.
Well, see, if since I haven't read any of those books, and I don't want to, I did try to read Brent Weeks, the first Lightbringer book. Hated it. 2 stars. I kept having to pause it and have him explain to me what was happening every 5 minutes.
Let me defend Brent Weeks. The reason she gave it 2 stars is because his writing is too good.
No, he spends so like he would spend 20 pages on one thing. He would spend 20 pages on 20 seconds within the world.
Yeah.
Like
it'd be within their brains, like thinking through or backstory and stuff.
Yeah, and I would think like, oh, they've moved on, they're now like doing this, and then it would like say something about how they're still crouched behind this wall. And I'm like, oh wait, okay.
Nothing has actually happened.
Yeah. They just like freeze frame.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't make sense.
10 or 15 minutes later, and it's supposed to be like 2 seconds have passed. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can get into more videos. Again, not why we're here. Can you tell that we want to talk about anything but this book? So, I guess we should go ahead and get into this book. So you can take it away.
So this month we read A Darker Shade of Magic, which is a fantasy novel set in a world. This is just a brief synopsis of the book. Set in a world where there are multiple Londons, and each one mirrors itself physically in that, like, the physical landscape of the world is the same, the shape of the islands and continents is the same, there's the same rivers, etc. And it's a world of magic, and there used to be 5 total. There was Black London, right? Oh, 4. There was 4 Londons. Yes, 4 Londons. And this is in descending order. Picture it like they were stacked on top of each other to get to one. Like if you wanted to start at the bottom to get to the top one, you would have to go through the other 2. Yeah. Anyway, so starting at the top, it was Black London, then it was White London, then it was Red London, and then it was Grey London. Black London was overrun by magic.
Is that spoilers?
No, it's like that's common knowledge from like page 1.
Okay, just
I think so. It's pretty common knowledge. I think.
I can't remember.
White London, which is right below Red London, it's a spectrum, right? So Black London is overwhelmed. White London is like they're constantly at war, battling, fighting, scrabbling for any tidbit of magic they can get their hands on to become more powerful. Red London is a healthy level of magic where it is used in every day, but it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
And then Grey London the magic is dead, quotation marks. In that, like, you just don't see it. It's not there. Nobody, like, they don't even know it exists.
It's our London.
Yeah, it's our London. So yeah, it's about a man named Kel who is an Antari.
Which I always thought it was Atari.
Atari, like the
game console.
Yeah.
That's what I kept picturing.
I always thought of that too. Yeah. And there are only 2 in existence currently. Antari are users of magic who have the ability to use all 5 elements, which is the Avatar 4, Earth, Water, Fire, Air, and then Bone. And then Antari can use blood magic, so there's bloodbenders as well. But anyways, so magic users can sometimes use one of these abilities. Antari can use all 5. Antari can also walk between the worlds. Used to be they were open pathways between the worlds where anybody, or at least magic users, could enter into different Londons. Mm-hmm. But after Black London collapsed, rules were set in place, and it was cut off down to doors that only Antari can use. And the only way you can get to, and Antari can get to any London, is by having a token that originated from that London specifically. All black tokens were destroyed, gotten rid of. That's the or I guess that's like not even a synopsis. I didn't tell you what happens. It's just like the foundation, the backstory, just to help you understand the world as we talk about it. Yeah, Beans?
Cool.
Yeah, Beans. Did you like it?
Did I like this book?
Yeah. What'd you rate it?
2 stars.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
I feel that. I can see that.
What'd you rate it?
I gave it 3. Man, I don't know. I liked it. It was okay. 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was alright. I liked it.
Are you going to continue the series?
I don't know about that. I don't know if it was that cute. It wasn't that cute. If they're on Libby and I can listen to them, then yes. But I will never read this physically.
Okay.
It's not worth that.
Yeah, it's just like, so we started reading this book physically together.
Yeah.
And then like halfway through it, we got the audiobook. So then we listened to it separately. And once we got the audiobook, I got bored.
You were more bored with the audiobook?
Yeah, which is weird. Because normally, like, I love audiobooks, super engaged with audiobooks, but like, I couldn't focus with this audiobook, and like, I just didn't really care to like reverse it to try to figure out what was happening. I was just like, okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the premise is really cool.
Very interesting.
And I liked the idea, but it got really boring.
Yeah.
So.
I think part of the issue with the audiobook was that the voice actor, the person who read the book, narrator, there it is.
Yeah.
Did not have the best British accents. And the girl, no, I've already lost her name.
I don't remember.
Delilah.
Yeah.
Delilah, she had the most painful British accent ever. Oh, it was tough. It was very tough. And that just always threw me out of, like, the groove of reading a book. You know, when you just, like, fade into it and you're almost not reading.
Yeah.
Or listening to, you know, you're just like, it's almost like watching a movie. At least that's what happens to me. I love when that happens.
Yeah.
And it would happen sometimes with this book, and then she would talk. And I'm like, oh, dang it.
Yeah, in the end, whenever there was the fight between the queen and her, both of the voices he had for each of them were different, but they were also so similar that I would get so confused on who was speaking.
Yeah.
And once they were in the same room together, I had no clue what was going on.
Oh man. Yeah. Man. Okay. All right. Man, what do you want to talk about? Like,
well, so what did you like about this book?
I like the cover. This is a cool cover, though. Like, look.
Yeah, it is cool.
I would like to point out that he's exiting Black London into Red London.
I think that's meant to be, like, Grey London, because you go from grey to red.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying, though. You can't go from black to red.
But then, I'm saying that's probably grey.
Yeah. But it's black.
And also, it's just a picture.
It is. It's a cool cover. Like, I saw this when did this come out?
We got it last year.
Yeah, I know, but it's been out for a long time, I feel like.
Yeah.
Oh, 2015. So 5 years ago. Yeah. I saw this in bookstores like 5 years ago, and I always wanted to pick it up because of the cover. It looked very cool. So,
like, as a fantasy reader,
yes,
like, I'm not really surprised that I didn't enjoy it. I'm coming to realize that I probably prefer middle grade fantasy over YA fantasy and especially over adult fantasy. But, like, I'm still, like, determined to try. Like, I'm still going to try all these books, even though I'm not surprised when I don't like them. Yeah. But it's just because everyone reads these books, and so it's, like, I want to be a part of the action. But, like, since I don't read a lot of fantasy, like, I wasn't, I guess, used to it. But, like, since you read a lot, like, how does this compare? And, like, whatever I'm trying to ask. I don't know.
The world itself, the premise of these different Londons in different planes, almost like Stranger Things, you know, the Upside Down, where you're punching through to a different plane that's parallel to your plane, was very good. Well, like, A+ on the premise for this book, and the world that we saw, even though we didn't see a lot of it at all. They never exited London itself, like the city itself. They never left it. Outside countries were mentioned, but never left it. But premise A+, fantastic. Storyline, like B-. It was good wizard gets a hold of magic item, bad wizard wants magic item, they fight over magic item, and that's literally like a gajillion other books. It's terrible. And there were some glaringly painful plot. Hole isn't even the right word for it. I'm trying to think. Chasms. There was a large plot chasm.
Where?
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it when we talk about how the things I don't like. I'm supposed to be talking about the things I do like. I'm sorry.
No, I changed the question.
Oh yeah,
I went from things you liked, and then I changed it to just how it is a fantasy in general.
Yeah. As a fantasy in general, I'd call it a 3. It's all right writing. Fantastic premise, cool world. Boring magic system because it's never explained, and only 1 out of 5 parts of it is unique. And even then, we only see it once. The bone part. So, maybe twice still. So yeah, 3 stars.
I mean, that's not bad.
Yeah, no, it's not bad.
Like, a 3-star rating isn't a bad rating.
And it gets like 3 of those stars from the premise.
Are you going to read or try to pick up more v.e.schwab?
Yeah, I'd be willing to read more v.e.schwab. Again, if I found it on Libby, he wasn't. She. Oh, I'm sorry. What's her first name? Victoria Schwab. It wasn't so good that it made me immediately want to look up her book list and start putting them all on my TBR. But like, if I saw anything outside of this trilogy, I would pick it up to check out just to look at it to see what it was, you know?
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's how I am. Like, I follow her on like Twitter and Instagram, and she seems like a really cool person.
Yeah.
And she like really goes in depth, not like super in depth, but she like talks about her writing process and stuff like that. So I enjoy that.
That's cool.
And so like, I was a little disappointed that I didn't love this book, but it's not deterring me from like wanting to try all her other books, because she has one series called Vicious that I want to try. I don't really know what it's about, but I know it's like about the villains.
Ooh, cool.
Like the villains are the main characters, which like I love things like that. So, and then she has a new one coming out, I think this month. Or next month, I don't know, sometime soon, called like The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, or Addie LaRue, and that has a really pretty like constellation-y cover.
Ooh, yeah.
And I don't know what that one's about, but the cover's pretty, so like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess you never finished answering the question what you liked. Like, what were some of your favorite parts?
I loved his brother. Whose name?
The Prince.
The Prince. I've already lost his name.
I think it's Rye.
Yeah, you're right. Rye. R-H-Y. Cool name, first off. Great character. There was a reveal later on in the book where I'm like, oh, he's the bad guy. But he wasn't the bad guy. And I'm like, man, that would have been so good.
I was so, like, whenever I did hear that, I was like, no, that's so cliche.
Yeah.
So I was glad that it wasn't actually him, and that it was like someone possessing his body, because I was like, ooh, that's good.
It is different. Yeah.
And so, because like, I just wanted the brother to stay like the good king.
Yeah.
But not like he was frustrated that he didn't have magic, so he was taking it,
Mm-hmm. Did a fantastic job of writing Rye's character. I became attached to him very quickly, even though he wasn't even like.
Yeah, he was in like maybe
fourth in importance.
Yeah.
Right?
He was like in the book for like an hour.
Yeah. Out of however long it was like Kel, Delilah, Holland, Rye. I would rank them as. Even in screen time. Maybe Rye got more screen time than Holland.
No.
But even then, like, I cared about him the most out of all the characters. Did not give a lick about Delilah. She sucked.
Yeah, no.
Holland was an interesting character, and I wish we had gotten to see more of him.
Mm-hmm.
Half think we're going to see him again later.
Well, not if you don't continue the series.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, it was sort of insinuated that he died, or was gonna die.
Really?
I thought so.
Oh.
It was just assumed, like, dude got a pole stuck through his heart.
Really?
He got a pole in the chest.
Oh, I guess I really wasn't paying attention.
That's how Kel beat him. He stabbed him with a big old pole in the back through the chest.
I thought he was fighting the king.
He killed the king, I think. And then Holland showed up.
Oh. I thought
Holland showed up at like the very last minute.
Oh.
And then he had to fight him again.
Oh. Well, yeah. Apparently I wasn't paying attention, because all I thought was Delilah was fighting the queen.
Yeah.
And then he was fighting the king, and after he finished killing the king, Delilah comes in, but it's not actually Delilah.
Correct.
And then Kel kills her.
Correct.
And then actually kills the queen.
Yes. Yeah. So Kel killed both of them, and then at the very last moment, Holland showed up. And that's like, because he needed somebody, there was no way to get the stone through into Black London. So, okay, we haven't even talked about that. The magical item that I mentioned earlier is a token from Black London. And it's like this, it's broken in half, and it's awesomely powerful. It can do, it's like creation itself. You can do whatever you want with it. But it's also sentient and evil, and possessing. So they need to get it back into Black London, because if you get it into Black London and then don't take it back with you, then there's approximately no more artifacts to Black London, and Black London is sealed forever, right?
Yeah.
So they're fighting over it, but the issue, to get it back into Black London, someone has to take it through. You can't just like open a door and toss it. You have to enter Black London with it, and then Black London is sealed from the inside. Like, you can't get back out of it. That was how it was sealed. It's not it's necessarily sealed from the outside. Like, White can get into Black if you have a token, which are supposed to be gone. Black cannot get into White, no matter what.
Yeah.
So Kel went the entire book thinking he was going to die by taking the stone into Black London just to save the world from it. But at the last moment, he used Holland. He just, like, shoved Holland through a door with the stone into Black London.
Yeah, I guess I didn't read that.
After he was stabbed through the heart with a pole, but he was like, haha, Antari are hard to kill. And that was how it ended. So obviously he's going to show up again. Sorry.
Okay.
So, what did you not like? What did you like about the book? What did
I like about the book?
Yeah.
I liked Kel.
Yeah.
I thought he was interesting. I liked his jacket a lot.
Super cool.
And then I also liked the beginning of how, like, how the world was set up and introduced, like, with, like, the really old, decrepit king, and then, like, the letters being taken back and forth, because, like, they only brought back, because that's really, like, their whole purpose was to do the letters.
Yeah.
But they only did, like, 2. But, so I liked those 2 things. And then I liked that Delilah didn't have magic herself.
Yeah, that was great.
Like, I'm glad that, because we had an Antari from White London, which was Holland, and then we had one from Red London, which was Kel. And because Delilah was in the mix, I was assuming, she's gonna realize she's an Antari, and she's Grey London's Antari. But, like, I'm glad she wasn't. Like, there, at the end, didn't it say, like, she does have some magic in her?
Yeah, the priest or whatever saw magic in her, but it since she was from Grey London, it was just like super repressed.
Yeah.
She didn't even know she had. No one knew she had, and no one knows magic exists. So like, no one looks for magic, you know.
Yeah. So like, I'm glad that it wasn't like her just realizing that she has it. So I liked that part.
Yeah.
And let me see what else. I liked that all the Londons weren't the same.
Yeah.
Like, I liked that, yeah, they're all named London, but, like, that was just, like, this weird thing. It wasn't like there was, like, they weren't different dimensions. Mm-hmm. They were different worlds.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, they weren't all Grey Londons, but with various degrees of magic.
Yeah.
They were actual different worlds with different languages and different cultures and stuff like that. So, those are the things I liked. Yeah. I also liked that Holland... I think I found Holland more interesting because, like, he is being controlled.
Yeah.
And so part of it is, like, how much of it is him and how much is it him being controlled. And so, like, it's an interesting, like, not bad for the sake of being bad type of bad guys, even though the king and queen kind of were.
Yeah.
Like, they were just bad to be bad, but the main bad guy we interacted with wasn't. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, that was a good writing right there for Holland.
Yeah.
And the coat thing is, I love the coat.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, it looked like a normal coat, but it had an approximately infinite number of sides. So every time you turned it inside out, it was something different. Yeah. There were like a couple that would always show up. But then, like, every now and then, it'd just be like, oh, that's random. Didn't see that one coming. Mm-hmm. It was interesting and cool. You can never leave anything in a pocket, because if it got turned inside out and you just never saw that version of the coat again, it was gone.
Or you just randomly find $100 or something in your pocket.
Very cool. Very interesting coat idea. Love that. So, yeah. I want to talk about what I hate of the book. Are you okay with me going on a rant for a minute?
Yeah.
Okay. Plot chasm. Question. In what London did we first find the Black Stone? Where was it given to Kell at?
White.
Okay, thank you so much. Plot chasm. So, Kell is the red Antari. Holland is the white Antari, right? Magical stone that is literally creation itself is in Holland's world with the brother and we keep saying king and queen, but it was a twins, brother and sister.
Yeah.
I guess it would be king and queens. They're just not married.
Yeah.
Hopefully. We don't know that detail. It wasn't specified. So, Stone of all creation is in Holland's grasp, in his world, in the twins' world, right? It was given to Kell, and secretly, he didn't know he had the Stone of all creation, and he was asked to take it to Red London, right?
Yeah.
Or was it? Yeah, it was Red London, to give it to somebody else. He thinks it's like long-lost family who had been separated when Black London fell and the worlds were closed off from each other, etc., etc. He shows up to give the stone to somebody, and he's attacked because they want the stone. But how did they know the stone was coming if somebody from White London did not tell them, and the only person from White London who could have told them that Kell was coming with the stone was Holland, right? Then it's revealed that the twins have the other half of the stone, which is like destruction incarnate. And then when you put them together, then you are the all-powerful being genie that Jafar turns into at the end of Aladdin, thank you. And they really want the other half of the stone. So why, on God's green planet, if you have both half of the stones in white, would you give half of the stone to your enemy and have him leave your world with it? And then he escapes and goes on this magical adventure. When instead, you could have just put the stones together and conquered the universe instantaneously. They said her reasoning for it was, we wanted to take it across the line from white to red, but we didn't want Holland to get caught with it, and if you get caught with it, then you're in trouble. But it's the stone. It's like it's creation incarnate. Mm-hmm. And you have like if you put them together, then you can literally tear the walls of the universe apart and be able to walk to any London you want. And you had it together, but then you just gave half your powerful stone to the enemy. And it makes no sense. Like at first I thought that maybe the little lady that gave Kell the stone in the very beginning was desperately trying to get it out of White London to protect White London from the power of this combined artifact. But that wasn't it, because the king said that they all set it up.
Yeah.
So why, if you have half the stone, if you have both half of the stones, would you give half your stone to your enemy so that he can defeat you with it? It bugs me, man. It made no sense. Oh.
Well, I don't think he was supposed to realize that he had the stone.
I know.
Like he
was supposed to just be killed with it, so that Red London's agents could have it.
I think it would be I didn't pay enough attention to really try to explain this, but like, I don't know. I feel like probably like it had to be taken over by an Antari.
Yes, yeah.
So like they couldn't take it over.
Holland could.
Yeah, but like if Holland took it over, then they would know it's like a war. Like they're declaring war on Red London.
Yeah, and they were trying to be very
they were trying to go from, because didn't she say something about like taking like down your enemy from behind or from the inside? Mm-hmm. Like I think that's what they were probably trying to do, was like take like, because they put Kell as like a wanted person, mm-hmm. and then like, and so no one really knew like, hey, this is White London doing all this stuff, like, so like I feel like it was more of like a way to where you can take over this other London without it seeming like you're conquering this other London.
That makes sense.
Like it's more sneaky.
Yeah, but still doesn't make like if the stone had originated from Grey London, if it had started in Grey London and Kell was given it there, where like somebody's freaking out, they found a magic artifact when magic doesn't exist, and they're like they don't even know it exists. Mm-hmm. It would have made more sense.
Yeah,
and he would have been like, oh crap, this is a black artifact. I got to get it home, or I got to get it to Black London.
Yeah.
So then he takes it across to Red. And then he hops to White because that's where you have to go to get to Black. And then he's attacked. Makes way more sense. But starting in White, jumping to Red, jumping to Grey, jumping to Red, jumping to White, going to Black. It just, I mean, I guess she needed stuff to put in her book to make it longer, I guess. But it just...
And also a reason to go to all the different Londons.
Yeah, and we got to see all the different Londons. That was good. But it just... That it was a gaping plot hole that bothered me so bad. Because Holland... Like, if Holland... he had to have given her the stone, right? Mm-hmm. The agent the stone. To give to Kell. So he had it. And he was being controlled by the twins, who had the other half of the stone. And if they just put together, it was like instant domination. Doesn't even matter. You don't have to go around secretively. You can take every world. You can walk in any world you want and just take it. And it's yours. Because you have creation and destruction itself in your hand. Yeah. You can do whatever you want. It just bothered me so bad. It was stupid.
You know what you can do?
Read the other books to see if it answers it?
Oh. No.
Oh, okay.
You can write fan fiction.
Ooh,
to where you change that. And just change the
I'll just rewrite the book.
Yeah.
Or try to explain it.
So, is that all? Are there anything else you didn't like about the book?
The bad voice acting of the British people.
Okay, well that's not really the book's fault.
I know.
Like, if we hadn't have listened to the audiobook, we wouldn't have known that.
The magic system. Like, it wasn't very fleshed out at all. So, there were the 4 elements, right?
Uh-huh.
Water, fire, earth and air.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was bone magic. And then there was blood magic. And blood magic required a language. Like, you had to say specific words from a dead language. I think it wasn't Black London's language. It was a language that
I don't know.
No one knew.
It was the
magic's
language.
Yeah. You had to say specific words and use blood in order to do blood magic. And blood magic was apparently anything. It was normal. It was like, when you think of the word, like if you just said a universe has magic, well, it's sort of like Harry Potter magic, right? You say a specific word and you do a specific motion and you get an effect, right? It was that. So you say, to travel between worlds, you said, os entree or something like that. That wasn't actually it. And you cut yourself and you put your hand on a wall with holding the token of the world you want to travel to, and you could travel to that world, right? There were parts of the book during fights and stuff when they were using air magic, and that was literally just air bending. You were just throwing wind, right? There were parts of the book where you used earth magic, but the only times when he used earth magic was when he cut himself and said something and the stone broke apart and then followed his commands. So that was blood magic. And then water magic and fire magic just weren't used at all. Bone magic didn't require words. Air magic didn't require words. Nothing else was used unless that when he broke the stones apart and used them as missiles or projectiles, that was rock magic. It just wasn't fleshed out, wasn't used nearly enough. Besides, like, blood magic was used a lot, but like the rest of it literally didn't need to exist. If you hadn't used that, like, that's literally the most cliche magic system in the world. Oh, you can obviously Avatar: The Last Airbenders, top tier, the best in the history of mankind ever, story ever told. But besides them, no one else is allowed to do it because after them it's just cliche and boring. Didn't need to exist. Was only used like twice, so it literally didn't need to exist. Could have been a unique magic system, and I wouldn't have been angered by it so much.
I think that's a little unfair.
I disagree.
Because, like, you saying because this one thing did something, no one else can do it because then they're just copying them. Because then that means, like, oh, there's other books where there's different worlds and they all go to different worlds. Or there's other books where there's magic and there's a leading guy and a leading girl. And, like, you can't have this spunky girl who's, like, not like other girls because that happened in this other book that did it really well. So once one book or movie does it really well, oh, that category, that genre's or trope is cut off. That doesn't make sense.
Not necessarily.
Because more than one book or a TV show can do a trope really well.
I know. This one didn't, though. Okay, so I will take back my previous comment. Mm-hmm. If you were going to use a magic system where it's 4 elements, she added bone, cool beans. Uh-huh. If you're going to use a magic system that uses the 4 elements, earth, water, fire, air, do it better than she did. Use your system. Like, literally air was the only one used. Yeah. Based off of my recollections. At all. And it was used twice. It just wasn't used. Didn't need to exist. If you're, like... I feel like she was, like, that was the original basis of her magic system. And then she was like, bone magic, blood magic, that's cool. And then she, like, really went into depth on that, and she just forgot to cut out her original magic base. Yeah. You know?
I feel like it would have probably, like, a better way to do this is if there were other people who could do it. Like, if it was, like, or just, like, if he couldn't do the other magics. Mm-hmm. Because, like, I think he could do all the magics.
Yeah, that's
because
what an Antari is.
Antari.
Yeah.
So, like, instead, if the Antari could only do blood magic, that would make sense of why we see that the most, because 2 of our main characters are Antaris. Yeah. And then our 3rd main character has no magic at all. Mm-hmm. So, like, that would make sense of why you don't see any of the others, except for, like, a few times, because our main characters don't do it.
Yeah, that's another thing is, besides Holland and Kell, the 2 Antari, there was the Fence, who could use bone magic, and the King and the Queen, the twins. Uh-huh. Those were the only NPCs, I'm going to call them that because, you know, side characters, right? Yeah. Those were the only main side characters that ever used magic. Like, it wasn't even shown in the world. There was a massive festival celebrating... Oh, no, I say that. Okay. There were firebenders, right?
Yeah.
And earth and waterbenders. And airbenders, I guess, at the festival. Okay, so each magic was shown once in the festival, from afar, watching a troop of people dance with or fire, or air, or water, you know? But in combat, it was, like, up close by one of the main characters, by anybody interacting with the main characters. It was never used besides bone magic once. And then, like, the other people who apparently could use all the magic too? Or I guess did the king use air magic? I think the king used air magic.
Don't ask me.
Can't remember. Terribly written magic system. Could have been great if you just cut out the avatar cycle of air. Or of the elements. That's all I can't say that. That is my main points of what I hated about the book. So, What did you dislike about the book?
I disliked that I wasn't super intrigued by it. I don't think that has anything to do with the book. It's just like I said before, like this type of higher fantasy, my brain is too small to comprehend it and like fully stay engaged. Like if this was a movie or a TV show, I think I'd be able to grasp it and like keep up with it a whole lot. Because I like high fantasy shows. But, so like, obviously that. And then, Delilah.
Yeah.
Didn't like her.
Not at all.
Mainly because, like, her reasonings for going on this adventure were really non-existent. Like, she wanted to go on this adventure, but, like, she had no idea what she was getting into. And she had no, like, why are you going with this random dude you met 2 seconds ago that you stole from when you first met him, and then he stole back and trapped you in a wall? Like, yeah, he came back and saved you, which, why did he do that? I don't know, maybe because he's a decent human being.
Yeah.
Or not human, but, you know. So, like, her going... really, I don't know. It didn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Her just, the adventure just to have adventure. Like that, like I can see her going to a different world. Oh, there's a different world? Sure, let's go. But then like, I don't see her risking her life for this adventure that she's going on. Like I can see her, like, I don't know. I feel like it would have made more sense if like like, to fit with her character, she's not going to sacrifice herself for anyone. She's looking out for number one. That's all that matters, is her survival and her having fun and getting what she wants. And so, like, when it got to the fighting and the stuff and, like, getting actually dangerous, like, it would make sense if she walked away.
Yeah.
And then maybe she can come back because something happens and she's like, ugh, this guy's being an idiot. I gotta save him. And then, like, go back. But, like, her just, like, all of a sudden being super selfless and, like, being willing to die and be trapped in Black London and whatever just for this random person. Because, like, I didn't even feel like they were that good of friends.
No, they weren't.
And so...
she was the love interest. But even then, like...
really?
They kissed.
Oh, yeah, I guess they did.
She was there she was there... so that the main character would have a girl.
Yeah, I didn't ship it.
No, me either. No, she was a trash human being. She was like Katniss. Just selfish beans.
I like Katniss more. Like, if I had to pick between the two, Katniss.
And Delilah had a weird thing about being a pirate.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's cool. Because, like, she was on a boat, but...
she was living on a rotted out boat.
Yeah, but then she, like... it was, like, her aesthetic.
Yeah.
To be a pirate, but, like, she... wasn't a pirate.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Also, trigger warning on the boat. But just to explain the trigger warning, pointless character development, quotation marks, for Delilah to prove that she has had a hard life.
Oh, yeah.
So stupid.
I don't like it when, like, when we got to that point, we were reading it together, and you were reading it.
Yeah.
And, like, you just stopped reading.
Yeah.
And, like, I didn't ask, because I was like, oh, okay, I can see where this is going. So, and then you just randomly pick up where she's like, and I killed him.
Yeah, plunged her knife into his stomach and tore up words. I'm like, yeah.
And I was like, okay.
But it was just such a pointless include.
Yeah, like, obviously it happens in real life.
Yeah.
And, like, it's not, like, out of the ordinary, like, oh, this creepy old guy who lives on this creepy old drunkard who lives on this rotted out boat who lends out it to her for a price. Like, if he doesn't get his price, like, I can see that happening. But, like, the only reason it was in the book was to show, like, how, like, not, like, selfish she is, because, like, she was defending herself.
Yeah.
But just, like, how tough and strong and just, like, she's independent, doesn't need anyone, she can take care of herself. Like, you can show that in a myriad of other ways besides that. And also, she tried to show that with her, like, pushing away the only guy that was actually nice to her. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't even like he wanted to be romantic with her. He was just like, I felt like it was like an older brother relationship.
Yeah, I think he was like 50. I got the feeling that he was like middle-aged.
Yeah. And so, like, literally the only person that was nice to her and, like, helped her and all this stuff, like, she just kept, to show that she was tough and independent, like, just kept shrugging him off. Mm-hmm. And then she only feels bad once he's dead.
But she didn't even feel bad. Like, there was, like, 2 seconds of emotion shown, and then it was never mentioned again.
Yeah.
This, like, somebody who had been there for her entire life. Like, giving her everything she needed, free food, a free room when she needed it, anything and everything, gets murdered, and there's, like, a flash of anger for 2 seconds, and then, like, it's, like, she never mentions it again.
Yeah.
Like, that was... Yeah, no, she was a trash human being, I thought. I agree with you.
But I think that's really all I disliked.
Yeah.
Like, even though the bad king and queen, like the white London's king and queen, like, even though I felt like they were just bad to be bad, like, they weren't really that, like, they were, like, important, but they're, like, the puppet masters behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So, like, them having, like, an actual human's emotions and stuff, like, they didn't need it, so it was fine.
Yeah.
So, like, other than that, like, I enjoyed it, sort of. Like, the parts I enjoyed. And I'm glad I read it.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'll be picking up the next one. Unless you pick it up and then you're like, oh, it's so much better.
5 stars, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Or even if it gets to that point, you can just tell me what happens.
Okay. Okay.
But, anything else?
No, I'm done.
No? Yeah?
I think so.
So you've said all the things you liked about it. All the things you didn't like. Oh, favorite scene. We'll do favorite scene and least favorite scene. Mm-hmm.
Man, there weren't a lot. Like, man, I gave it 3 stars, but, like, I honestly... There was a scene where Rye had been possessed. Mm-hmm. And they were all piled into his room. It was, like, Kel, Delilah, Rye, and, like, 3 guards or something like that. And Rye was being possessed by the queen, and she was talking through his body with her voice. So it was, like, this man that, like, she did a very good job writing Rye in that, like, we all were immediately attached to him. Mm-hmm. And it was it was shown very clearly that everyone loved him. He was a stand-up dude.
Yeah.
So it was, like, this evil, creepy woman that we had never interacted with before this moment. Mm-hmm. Talking from his body, and, like, it was just a very stressful scene because she was threatening to kill Rye.
Oh, yeah.
With himself. Mm-hmm. And, like, it was, like, it was just, like, high stakes, trying to figure out what to do because she could just stab herself. Yeah.
And she wouldn't be injured.
Yeah, she wouldn't be injured because it was Rye's body. That was a well-written scene, I thought. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I don't know.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. My favorite was... I don't know if they're, like, favorites, but, like, all the scenes with Rye,
yeah,
I really enjoyed. Just because he was funny.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I enjoy the humor. But, like, actual favorite scene was probably the one with the old king at the beginning. Like, whenever he's, like, he's like this blind old king, and Kel is reading this letter to him, and it's literally one line. And so it's sad. So rude. And so he's like, is that it? And so, no. He's like, no, I'm continuing. And he, like, just continues, like, reading off this thing.
Oh.
And then he, like, gives him a coin because it smells like roses, which is just the smell of magic. And
this was the Grey King, so he didn't have magic in his universe.
Yeah, it was just, it was so sweet.
Oh.
And then I just felt bad for him.
Yeah. That was a good intro, though. First up, to show Kel, like, to show that Kel was a pretty good guy. And, like, throughout the book, you could tell he was a good guy. But also he didn't have much of a personality beyond that.
I would say he is, like, neutral good.
Yeah.
Like, he's good, and he wants to do whatever he can to help, but he's also going to go in it for his own interests. Like he is with the taking the artifacts from the different Londons and, like, trading secrets and whatever.
Oh, yeah, that was, like, the premise, like, on the back of the book, he's like, oh, but he's also a smuggler. Yeah. But what he's smuggling is toys
music
to keep
boxes
as a collection for himself. Like, it's not like he's smuggling like 3,000 tons of cocaine across borders. You know, he was smuggling a music box or a little children's toy to each, like, to different Londons, because you're not supposed to move artifacts across to different Londons.
Yeah,
like, that's all. I don't know. I would not call him a smuggler. Seriously.
Yeah, no.
Like, I don't know. But that was, like, the premise of the book. He was a smuggler, and he got robbed, and then he chases her down. But that's, like, the first 3 chapters. And then, like, the rest of it just... Yeah.
But yeah. I liked that. And then my least favorite scene was probably the scene when Delilah gets the stone.
Which one of those?
The very first scene, one? Whenever, like, he comes into the room, he's, like, in the room and is like, give me that back. And, like, she manifests this sword, and then she manifests him. Yeah. And the manifestation starts taking off his clothes. And, like, I think it was supposed to be, like, funny and quirky or witty or whatever, but it felt really cringy to me.
It was gross. That scene made no sense either. So the sword made sense because she had been talking about wanting to be a pirate, and she needed boots to be a pirate, and she needed a sword to be a pirate, and those were expensive things. So it was going to take her a long time to save up and buy boots and a sword. So that had been explained earlier, and it was logical that she created the sword out with the stone. When she got it, she was, because it's creation yourself. But then, like, she immediately went to creating a sentient being. A human, like a direct copy of Kel. Yeah. Who was evil for half a second and took off his clothes. It's just like, that's not a logical sequence of events. When you are given creation itself, do you create a sword and then a human being? Yeah. Like,
but, like, the only reason she was creating him was just, like, to, like,
mess with him?
Mess with him and, like, smirk at him. Like,
yeah.
And, like, why do you want to, like, do you want to see him naked? Like, why are you doing this? This is weird. Stop.
Man, you're right. I had forgotten about that. That bothered me. It just made no sense. It was like, you know, because I've tried to write a book before. Whenever you're writing a scene and you haven't planned it out very well, you just start going. You're like, oh, and then this happens. And then this happened. That's what happened with this. Yeah, that's what happened with this. She was like, it looks good.
I mean, I guess the reason I didn't like that scene was because I don't really like her.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like if you liked her, like, that would probably be funny and stuff, but, like, I don't know. It's just, like, the fact that she was taking off his clothes, even though it wasn't really him, it was still him.
Yeah.
It just felt icky.
Cringy. That's a good word for it. Yeah.
What was your least favorite scene? Even though I feel like you're actually... I feel like you're hating this book more than I am. And I gave it the lower rating.
Yeah. I gave it that, 3 stars for the premise. That's all it, maybe it doesn't deserve 3 stars. Maybe it deserves 2 stars.
I mean, you give it whatever you feel like it fits within your rating system.
Maybe 2.5 stars for the premise and 1.5 star for the fact that it was a fantasy book. In my brain, because I just love fantasy books. Man, yeah, it was a 2-star book, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
Now that we talked about how much I hate it. Least favorite scene was... Man. There was just so many. So many scenes that were just subpar. Bad writing. Bad.
I don't know if it was bad writing.
No, yeah, that's bad. It wasn't bad writing.
It just didn't fit our understanding.
Yeah.
And our expectations of execution.
The only thing I didn't like about this writing was that she didn't like
commas.
The Oxford comma. She would avoid the Oxford comma, or even interacting with that rule as much as possible. It would be, and he had a rock and a sword and it would be and or. Yeah,
it was always a cluster of 3.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
And it would always be and or between them or. It was never a rock comma, a sword comma, and a gun.
Yeah.
It just made that bothered me because it just wasn't, as far as I know, proper English. So no, it was fine writing. It was good writing. Bad book planning, book outlining, maybe thinking through your universe.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Anyways, I literally don't have a least favorite scene
that makes
because
sense.
So many of them were tied for last.
Yeah. I'm just even though I didn't enjoy this book, I still have hope that I'm going to enjoy her other ones because it was decent writing. And in the beginning, I was engaged and I really enjoyed it. And maybe I would have been more engaged if we hadn't done the audiobook. But I don't know. I can't say for sure. But I do have hope that I'm going to find a v.e.schwab book that I enjoy because she's such a cool author. I don't know. I feel like I always, I don't have many authors that I actually, follow their stuff and, them as an actual person. And so, when I do, I always, really want to like their stuff. But, I'm not gonna, just say, oh, I loved it just because I like the person, you know?
Yeah.
Because, you can like the author and not like their book and it not be an insult to them.
Yeah. Agreement.
Because, this book... Here, let me see what the average rating of this on Goodreads is. It has a 4.7. So, that's a pretty good rating. So, tons of people liked this book.
What's the next book called?
A
Gathering of Shadows?
Yeah. And then it's A Conjuring of Light. So, she does good premises, and people really like her books. So I'm confident there's going to be one that I really like.
Yeah, that's another really good premise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just not this one.
Yeah.
So. Okay. So we read this book for your birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. You convinced me though. It's convinced me of my own feelings for the book. It's a 2-star book.
Yeah, the fact that you were hating on it more than me, I was like, do I give this a 2?
Should I give it a 1? Or should you give it a 3?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
You give it a 3 and I give it a 2. We'll switch.
But no, I still think it's a 2 for me.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, I guess that's it. The next month is October.
And spooky season.
Yes. So, the next book will be on the 14th. And that is going to be Prey by Michael Crichton. Which I'm excited for.
Oh, that's the
That's the
nanobots?
The man-eating nanobots that evolve. So, I'm excited for that. And then, the 28th of October, we're reading My Best Friend's Exorcism.
Isn't that supposed to be a legitimate horror book?
Yeah, that's an actual horror book, which I'm nervous about, and I know you're nervous about, But I've wanted to read that book for a while.
Yeah.
And, like, it sounds interesting. And, like, I don't know. It just looks cool. But I'm a big chicken. So I want both of us to read it.
We're going to have a hard time. Like, I'm going to get home after dark. And then we're going to have to read a horror book.
We'll just have all the lights on. But, so, those are the next things. I hope our thoughts made sense on this book.
They're always so rambling.
Yeah, I always feel bad. Like, I feel like I never know if we're going too hard into the book and, like, too critical, or if we're just gushing about it too much and not really looking at it critically or not. I don't know. It doesn't, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. It's just our opinions. But, yeah. So, if you enjoyed it, like this video. If you have thoughts on this book, you can let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.
Toodles.
Yeah.
That would have been annoying to flip it up and, like, you could just see your nose or something.
I mean, I have a bird nose.
Like, so. You don't.
From the side, I do. From the front, it looks like a normal nose. But then from the side,
from the back,
it's like an actual acute triangle.
It's a triangle?
Yeah. Like, from the front, it doesn't look like it should be that pointy.
Yeah.
But it is.
I like your nose. That's funny, though.
I'm really self-conscious about my nose.
I like it.